How's it going, everybody? My name is Boris, and I'm a recovering addict. And today I'm actually going to be talking about the concept of putting recovery into action. And this is really hard for us addicts to fully comprehend the idea of putting recovery into action because it's not about just saying, oh, I'm going to do it. Okay, you know, there's only so much you can do when you call someone, you talk to someone, and then what? There's only so much you can do when you go to therapy, right? There's only so much you can do when you listen to podcasts about whatever it is, right, that you're working on. And the reason why I'm saying that is because when I was not putting my recovery into action, I found that I was slipping back into those addictive patterns, behaviors, and lifestyles. And it wasn't because I wasn't working on my recovery. It was because I was not putting it into action. Action meaning, what am I doing today for my recovery? And be honest with yourself. Am I being lazy? Am I going to bed and just sleeping because I don't want to do anything? Yesterday I felt that way. Didn't help. Right? Um, am I just calling and or am I just doing this or that? Am I just bitching and moaning? Or am I actually doing something about it? Am I connecting with people? Am I sitting down and connecting with people and getting to know them and their story and their depths and everything else and helping them to understand the true nature of who they are? Or am I just, postponing it? A 12-step program, I love 12-step program because it gets you to be busy. There's plenty of things we're doing in 12-step program that shows that you need to put your recovery in action. If you haven't met with your sponsor yet to do any step work, you should probably do that, right? Because that shows that you're willing to get outside of yourself and start working with someone else and going over everything you need to do so that you can prove to yourself that you are willing to go to any length to get recovery and sobriety in whatever it is that you are suffering with. Okay, so and this doesn't just go for people who are addicted. Right? This also goes for people who have been affected by the addicted, right? Because as the people who are affected by the addicted, they get stuck in the pain, stuck in the sorrow, stuck in the suffering, stuck in the past, stuck in the what ifs, stuck in the I don't knows, right? And that's not helpful, right? And so you look for means of recovery, either from the addicted point of view or from the affected from the addicted point of view. Recovery does not only pick out those who are addicted. Recovery also goes with people who are affected as well. So that's why I believe recovery is a very vast and eternal word, because it doesn't just mean one person has to do it. It means unity. It means people have to do it together. People have to make the conscious choice and decision to say, I don't want to live with this in my life anymore. I don't want this to affect me anymore. And for those out there who have been affected by the addicted, to believe that one day, if the addict goes and gets himself better or herself better, that those who are affected will no longer have to deal with those consequences, and that things will get better once the addict has began working in action for their recovery. But always remember that that can be the exact thing, but unless there is no work on thine self to thoroughly put yourself into action, to heal yourself through those betrayals that you had to deal with, right? To heal yourself through those quote unquote traumas. In my understanding, traumas are so over sensationalized in psychology these days, and we need to be careful to not over sensationalize the word trauma, because that is something that is real, very, very real. However, we must understand that if we are over sensationalizing the word trauma in our life, it can also be a blocker to actually putting healing into action. Because we get so focused on trying to understand the trauma. What is trauma? How did it happen? What did it do to me? Poor me, blah, blah, blah. We don't have to live that way. We can understand that trauma is a factor, but it does not have to be the core reason. It means we need to do work. The word trauma really means it's time to do work with yourself. Heal yourself. Put it into action. Gain a community. Get a journal. Get a self-help book. Do self-reflection. Write it down. Know your patterns. Write down your patterns. Write down your resentments. Write down how you're doing in current moment in time. Be mindful. Be in the present. Be in the moment. Stop slipping into the past. Stop slipping too far into the future. It hasn't happened yet. Quit making fantasizations about what could happen when we have no idea what could happen. Put your faith in healing, in recovering. And that, my friends, my folks, my beautiful recovering community, it's time to no longer say, poor me, poor me, poor me. Put it into action. No more worrying about how I hurt someone else, how someone else hurt me, and not doing anything about it. And also expecting other people to do it instead of ourselves. For me, going into action also means sitting down face to face with another recovering addict and going over step by step what's going on with them. Getting outside of yourself, right? That's what gets us so hooked in the idea that we will never move on from something like this, right? Is the fact that we get into a selfish state of mind where we feel like we were the ones who were wronged and there is nothing that will ever help us to fully forgive that. When forgiveness is the first key to moving on into recovery. You don't have to accept what happens as something that was great. Forgiveness does not mean that you have to, say that it was a great thing that happened. Forgiveness starts with accepting what happened and learning how you can begin to recover from that incident. And recovery means you go into action. Right? To me, I used to listen to podcasts. I used to read somewhat kind of good books here and there. I used to go to therapy. But what I realized was my therapist would send me things to do, right, when I wasn't in therapy. Meaning, there's more to just then showing up to therapy and talking it out. No, you must be humble to accept the work that needs to be done outside of those walls. Someone I was even talking to today was talking about how, they just go to meetings and then they go to the meetings, they go back out and they drink. No. For those who are in true recovery, they keep themselves busy. And that, for me, the motto of the word is get busy in recovery. Get busy. If you're sitting around not knowing what to do, curious, you don't know how to start, you don't know what's going on with your life, you're worried about this, worried about that, you don't know blah, 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 blah. You're letting your addiction do all the work, right? Learn your patterns for your addiction. For me, some of my patterns for addiction are laziness, complacency, confusion, lostness, paranoia, slipping too far in the future, slipping too far in the past, remembering all my failures and just dwelling on it in shame, and so many other things what I would do. And I'd also obsess over my fantasies. And what I realized is that is the way that the addiction works. It gets you to stay basically going nowhere. It stalls you out in life. And you get stuck there. That's what addiction does. It stalls your progress to becoming the real, true you. No more deception. And deception does not mean that you are out, purposely trying to be mean and hurt people's feelings. Deception comes from such a deep, deep, deep place of misunderstanding about yourself your environment, your reality around you, how you shaped your belief systems around you based on what happens in past experiences when you were growing up, when you were a teenager, when you're an adult, and so forth. You will believe these stories to be 100% true because that is the story you told yourself over and over and over, and that could end up being a true deception that you fell into, therefore losing yourself in the sense of misunderstanding deceptions and lies. Therefore, it becomes so intense and so real that you lose sense of what truth is. That is what recovery does. That's what you need to get busy doing. Understanding the difference between recovery, which is bringing truth into your life, versus addiction, active alcoholism, or whatever it is that is causing you to stay stalled in your life. Get busy, folks. If you want recovery, call someone, get a journal, write down what's going on in your life, attach yourself to learn your patterns and your cycles and your motives, your belief systems. Connect the dots. Get a self-help book and work on it. Right? Call someone. Sit down and do step work with your sponsor. If you haven't done it yet, do it. Right? Make time for your recovery. Every single day. If you're getting lazy and you're going to bed, you don't want to do it, or let's say you're saying, oh, I'll do it later, it won't get done. It won't get done if you keep saying, I'll do it later. That's what your addiction does. It tells you, I will do it later. Don't let the addiction continue to tell you, I'll do it later. Do it now. Recovery needs you now. Hopefully this helps you to be motivated in your recovery.